Coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we're talking everything you need to know about camping, hiking, and recreating in the Little Belt and Highwood Mountains. We're camping with Bob, coming up.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're No Damn Experts. I just realized I left the podcast studio to get my water and then didn't grab my water.
I was wondering what you were smiling about.
Yeah, that was.
Do we need to pause?
No. So, folks, if I start to dry out, that's why.
Start hacking
we'll see.
over there.
On my
Okay.
first episode without water. Today.
Oh, boy.
Today, on our show, we have the man of the hour, the elusive
What other adjectives are we going to use?
Bob Gliko
Yay.
with Lewis and Clark National Forest, right?
Well, actually, the
No.
Helena-Lewis and Clark National
Oh, that's
Forest.
right. That's
You're
right.
off to a good start.
I figured it was going to go this way. And Bob, we are happy to have you in the
Yes.
podcast studio with us on this beautiful snowy day.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
So what is your role at the Helena-Lewis and Clark National Forest?
Well, my role is I'm in charge of the recreation on the Jefferson Division of the Helena-Lewis and Clark National Forest, which basically is the Island Mountain Ranges, which consists of the Highwoods, the Big and Little Snowies, the Little Belt Mountains, the Castle Mountains, and the northern part of the Crazy Mountains.
Holy moly.
That's a lot of mountain ranges.
Yeah, that is.
And
That's
only
a lot
one
of distance.
And that's just one division of what you're talking about because you're the Jefferson division.
That is correct.
Wow.
Yep.
So the Alice Creek area is not in this area, right?
No.
Okay.
Nope,
Never
that
mind.
would be on the
I was
Lincoln.
Okay.
Yep.
That's its
By
own
Lincoln.
district.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Jefferson was within the Lincoln. Never mind. Okay.
Oh, man. So that just
Wow.
opened up all more questions for me to ask.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
I bet.
excited about.
No. That means longer.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Bob,
I'm just going to sit back and listen to you two talk then. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Bob, how long have you been doing this gig?
Well, I've been working for the Helena-Lewis and Clark for 39 years.
Oh, my goodness.
But I've been in recreation, I'm going to say 25 of those years.
Oh,
Wow.
so a newbie. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Where are you based out of? Where do you live?
I live right pretty close to the town of Monarch.
Okay.
But the station that I work at is between Nyhart and Monarch.
Okay.
At the Bell Creek Ranger District.
Okay.
There's housing there, though. Who gets to live there?
So in the summertime, when our employees come on,
Yeah.
our seasonal employees, that's who gets to live in the bunkhouses
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And we're in the process right now of hiring our seasonals for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are going to be full-time employees now. They're kind of going from seasonals to full-time employees or part-time, full-time also. So, but they're still going to get to stay there. And that's, they're the employees that actually do all the work on the ground.
Yeah.
So,
Did you start as a seasonal employee before you were full-time with the job?
yes, I did.
Okay.
I kind of started. First, I was in fire, and then I switched into timber, then into silviculture, and then into recreation.
Okay.
Huh.
Wow.
So,
I've learned so much already.
Yeah.
Like all the different departments within or divisions or areas.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I imagine this varies day to day, but what does a day in your life on the job look like?
Ooh.
well,
Hard-hitting journalism question there.
Well, that's a tough one. Every day is a little bit different just
Yeah.
due to the fact that, things are always changing from day to day. If we get a complaint from the public, we usually
Oh, you
go.
still have to deal with those, huh?
Yeah, we have to deal with that. We need to go out and, make sure that whatever that complaint is, fixed or anything like that. The other thing is getting just the crews out and getting them going for the day, knowing where they need to go and what needs to be done. And then in between all that, there's just a lot of computer emails that go back and forth. And, we do permits for outfitters, for that float the Smith, outfitters that hunt, outfitters that have horseback rides, just a little bit of everything on permits. So we oversee all that too. So that all kind of comes into the flow of things also.
What kind of things do people complain about?
Well, that all depends on where they're at the time. Some of the complaints are, why are we closing these roads off that were existing over the period of time, like old logging roads?
Okay.
Either that, or why isn't this trail fixed or this trail fixed?
So it's not, why aren't there moose for me to see in the park?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Yellowstone National Park will legitimately get comments that, like, oh, they locked up the animals while I was there and I was really mad. Or like, do you ever get like comments like that about like, why don't you let the animals come out when I'm there?
Or my favorite, there's a snake in my campground and what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
Well,
not pick it up.
Not so much on wildlife, but we do have rental cabins. Oh. And some of our rental cabins have, little rodents that happen to appear from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
So we get complaints about some rodents every once in a while. So.
You're in the wilderness.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Well, I think it sounds like we're getting smarter visitors. And
I'm just excited about that. Like, we get calls to our office, like, hey, I'm out on the River's Edge Trail and I found a snake. I don't know who you need to call about that. I'm like, nobody.
That's their
where they
home.
live. I'm not going to do anything about that.
Right.
So
was it a python or was it like a cobra? Because then
those
we'll
would be
something.
concerned.
Yeah,
but snakes are supposed to be out there.
Yeah.
So, like, the snow happens. Do you have to go plow roads as part of what happens up there or not?
No, we don't plow any roads. All the roads in the wintertime are blocked by snow conditions.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are groomed for snowmobiles to travel along.
Okay.
So they're what we call groomed snowmobile trails. The grooming is all done by the Kings Hill Grooming Association, which consists of the Marr County Snowmobile Club and the Great Falls Snowmobile Club.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
And they put in for grants to do all the grooming. And then, pretty much for roads, once snow comes and there's enough snow, and that's usually the 1st of December, we close the roads down, and then it goes to groomed snowmobile trails, a lot of them. But then there are some that are not groomed snowmobile trails and are just out there. And, you need to really look at the travel plan map or the Friends of the Little Belts map to know what you can do at that particular time of year and where you can do it at.
And with what?
Yeah, and with what. That's correct.
A lot of things to know.
Yeah. You, I imagine, are you traveling a lot in this job because you're overseeing so many different mountainous areas?
Well, at times, depending on the projects. Usually if there's a project that's starting out, we kind of got to go look at the project and see exactly what we want to do with it, what needs to be done, what tools are needed, and that type of stuff that, like I said, needs to occur. And then, depending on the project, if it's a big one, then I'm out maybe quite a bit with the project or the crews working on it. Otherwise, I just kind of send them out and they're out on their own. But, there's some traveling, but not a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the things that we get asked a lot here is about camping. And we don't have a lot of camping in our immediate area. We've got the Great Falls RV Park and then the KOA for camping. But our state parks around here don't have camping associated with them. So depending on what direction they head, we send them into other areas. So a lot of times that is into the Little Belts because that's what I'm most familiar with.
Yeah.
On one side, not both sides. But tell us about the types of camping that can happen in the, I would say, the Highwoods and the Little Belts, because that's our immediate area. Because I've seen camping grounds, and then I've told people this, which is not helpful at all. Like, if you find a wide spot on the road, you can just camp there because it's not on the road. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's like a camping area, but it's not a camping spot, so just stay there.
See, this is good for me to know. I've been to camp spots with other people, but I've done very little, and I really know nothing about this, and so I'm very little help to our guests with that.
Like, everyone knows I'm assuming everyone knows what a camp spot looks like. You pull up, and it's a paved area, and there's usually a picnic table or some indication that you can stay here.
Yeah.
But then there's other spots that are just wide and open, and it looks like a space you can congregate. So what, am I right in telling people, like, if you see a wide spot on the road, you're good to go, or you can stay in a campground? Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, that is. Like you said, we kind of have what we call two types of camping, and that's in fee campgrounds, and that's the ones you actually pay to stay in, like Mini Pines, Aspen, Logging Creek. There's 13 of those that are out there that you could actually
just in the Little Belts?
Well, there's one in the Highwoods, and then there's a couple, let's see, Richardson and Grasshopper that are in the Castles.
Okay.
And then the rest are in the Little Belts.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
But there's just one feed campground in the Highwoods?
Yes, that is correct. And then there's what you were talking about. If there's a open area, that's what we call undeveloped camping.
Okay.
And that basically is just, you could pull a camper or whatever you have, pitch a tent right in that open area. We ask the people don't develop new ones.
Okay.
That they stay in ones that are already existing. And usually when the existing one, you see tracks that go into it, maybe with a rock fire ring.
Okay.
And, basically that's all it is. And, a big popular one that's close that a lot of people from Great Falls go to is what we call the Dry Fork of Bell Creek.
Okay.
And that is located right outside of Monarch, and it kind of heads east of Monarch there, and that's just a really popular, a lot of things happen in that little draw, and it's very,
seems like there's stories there.
Yeah, there is. Lots of stories happen in the Dry Fork of Bell Creek, so, that's correct.
I'm never on this side of the mountains when I go camping, so.
Where are you headed?
We go on the east side of the Little Belts, near Sapphire Village.
Okay.
Where Charlie Russell's cabin was, and where they mine Yogo sapphires.
But I've heard, yes.
Yeah.
Do you camp in the Snowies at all, having lived over in Lewistown?
Never have.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know how to actually access public areas of the Snowies.
I've stayed at a campground in the Snowies.
Crystal
before.
Lake is, I guess, the only spot.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the one that I know of too.
Yeah, that's really a popular spot.
Yeah.
That is beautiful there.
Yeah.
Is that the only place to actually camp in the Snowies?
In the big Snowies, yeah, that's the only one that has a feast site is right there at Crystal Lake. But then on the south side, there's quite a few access points to the public that have undeveloped campsites.
Okay. Well,
See,
that's
I'm
good.
learning a lot of things. I don't know much about all of this. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, we haven't been super helpful for people long term when it comes to camping. So I'm real excited about this.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do people check to see where these campgrounds are? What's available? What's not? Do you have to reserve? I mean, how do people
Reservations,
find and actually use these campsites?
Okay, the undeveloped sites, there's no reservations at
Yeah.
all. In same way with the regular fee campgrounds.
Okay.
It's first come, first serve.
Okay.
And, to find out if they're booked or, we really don't know because we don't check on them on a, hourly basis or daily basis. So like you said, it's just first come, first serve. What's left is what's left. And then you just got to go down the road to the next one down the road if it is full.
Yeah. Okay.
And usually they're not full, maybe like on the 4th of July.
Okay.
The holidays, we really have a lot of people up there. But otherwise, during the week, there's always space, it seems like.
Yeah.
I've heard of people getting excited about winter camping. Have you seen people in the Little Belts or the Highwoods doing winter camping?
There's a little bit, but not a lot.
Is it real
That's
winter
extreme.
camping, or is it just like a camper that's designed for 4 seasons and they're up there hunting elk or something?
Well, that all depends on the person. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you that
Yeah.
right now because I've seen people that have pitch tents in the winter,
Oh,
but I've seen
Party.
people with campers.
yeah.
So it
Well-
can be either way.
Even campers made for 4 seasons. It's still
Not very warm.
No.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Anybody who has one of those knows.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't know where that up there, but Memorial Day
Yeah.
is usually snow in the mountains.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
that's way too cold for most of my camping experiences.
Yeah.
I turn the heat up
Yeah,
pretty
those are
high.
some hardy people out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And usually Memorial Day is the beginning of our camp season, and then Labor Day is kind of the end of the camp
Sure.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. But people can camp there all year long
Outside
if
of
they
that.
wanted.
That is correct.
Oh, look at that.
Except on the fee campgrounds. The fee campgrounds, we do close the gates.
Okay.
And
Oh,
they are
okay.
not accessible in the wintertime.
Okay.
That's
Are
good
they
to know.
closed after Labor Day? Or just like
No,
late October or something?
yeah,
Okay.
we kind of go by the season
Okay.
and the snowfall,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and we try to keep them as much or as long as we can, just to the fact that hunters still like to use them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, and there's
So-
it can be really great camping weather still in
Oh yeah,
January.
October, November, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
So you get to kind of work with Showdown then to make sure that they continue to exist and use the mountain in a good favor, correct?
That is correct.
Huh?
Yep.
Look
Yep.
at me learning.
Nice job.
Yeah. Well,
That
he
is-
mentioned the contracts and leases and stuff. So that's been going downhill for a long time.
Did you intentionally
60.
use their slogan?
Yep,
Good
I
job.
did.
Going downhill since 1936, I think, isn't it?
There we go.
Something like
I
that.
think that's
Yeah.
correct.
That's pretty cool.
Way to incorporate their slogan. Yeah.
I'm not just a pretty face, folks. And then what's the deal with Silvercrest? Is there like a recreation agreement for that area?
Yeah, so at Silvercrest there, we have a association that's out of Great Falls here. It's called the Silvercrest Trail Association.
Okay.
And they are a group that is formed, and they oversee the trail system there that's in
Okay.
Silvercrest. And, there are groomed trails there, both for skate skiing and also the classic skiing. And they, make sure that they get grants and have everything funded to do that for us.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
And then we just have what we call a cost share agreement with them it's just agreement between us and them that they have their responsibilities and we have ours. And they do a really good job at grooming in those trails, get a lot of compliments
Oh,
on
that's
Silvercrest.
good. That's good to
That
know.
is very good. How long are you allowed? I have a camping question. How long are you allowed to stay in one spot
Ooh,
at these camping
That's a
places
good
at
question,
time?
Shannon.
Yeah, that is a
Thank you.
good question because one of the things that we do spend a lot of time on in the summer is just overseeing to see how long people are staying.
Yeah.
And the limit is 16 days.
Okay.
So, we're constantly watching the camps, seeing if they're pushing their limits.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if they are, then we, put notes on their campers
Yeah.
or their tents
Yeah.
and let them know that,
Okay.
their days are up and
Yeah.
that they
Move
need to
along.
move on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Is that for both feed and undeveloped?
That is
campgrounds?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know.
Now, when it comes to camping, some people camp plushly. They have water hooked up and their sewer drains and they've got electricity, and other people are extremely rustic. Are there places in the Highwoods or the Little Belts where you can get water and plug in, or is it all you're on your own? You got to make do with what you're capable of doing with a generator.
So our fee campgrounds do have water, but you cannot hook up to a camper.
Okay.
It's just a hand pump that you got to go up and down, and water will eventually come out. And no electricity at all anywhere at our campgrounds.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's roughing it. But like you said, anymore, everybody has pretty nice campers where...
Isn't that the point, though, somewhat? Is like you're trying to... Like, see, that's what I've only ever been tent camping.
Oh, my crew is 100% snobby when it comes to camping.
Uh-oh.
And by that, I mean... We will not go into a developed campground. We will not.
An undeveloped, you mean?
No, developed. Like if there's a spot, like clearly a marked spot, like this is where you put your camper, we're like, no, that's not for us. And we will just go into the wide open, undeveloped camp area.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to be around people.
Yeah. But do they have all the water and electricity and all that?
We carry all of our own water. We've got groups with solar panels to run their electricity. We've got generators.
Yeah.
Some run their generators all night long, which is not ideal, but they like to watch movies at night. So whatever.
Yeah.
The kids need to go to sleep. But there's got to be restrictions in the fee campgrounds for how long you can run your generator, if at all.
Noise.
No, there's not.
Huh?
Oh.
Might be changing my mind a little bit.
I think I would be annoyed if somebody was like, I'm out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
I don't want the noise.
There is that element.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, some places we've gone where we've had to stay in, like, a real campground, I call it. They're like, no noise after 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we recommend. But
sure.
I mean,
but there's no
you
way.
know how it is. You
No,
just
that's
can't
police coming.
enforce that.
Right.
So.
No. You just create more problems probably.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm learning my husband has wanted us he used to sell campers actually, so he knows all about campers. I know nothing. And so we've been having this conversation of, should we buy a camper or whatever? And in my head, I'm like, we don't go camping enough. Like that's just something else to take care of, like all of this. And now I'm coming around to the idea it's not in the cards for us right now. We need to win the lottery or something for that. But
it's like a home on wheels.
I know. But I fight against that because I'm like, isn't part of the point you're going out to be out in the wilderness and do other stuff? But also I'm like, well, we would probably go more and it would be nice if you just hook up and drive and park.
Yeah.
I don't know. I go back and forth on it. Yeah.
It's a big battle. I mean, our camping journey started with tents, and I still have a tent that I use to go backpacking with because, I mean, you're not driving into a lot of the places you can go if you backpack.
Right.
But then we elevated into what we called our butt hut phases. And the butt hut phase was really just a dry spot where you could sleep. Chances of, I mean, they may have toilets, but they likely wouldn't work. They may be plumbed for water, but it was likely they weren't going to hold any of the water.
Yeah.
They weren't, I mean, now my husband and I were in the plush camp stage, and he's telling me, well, it doesn't have the kind of reclining couch that I want in the camper. And I'm like,
oh my goodness. Since
we
when
are
did we get
camping.
so bougie with all
right.
of this? Yeah.
We've gone the full spectrum.
That's funny.
And so it's like a cabin on wheels now is what we all have. And then you have to make sure you have enough space for entertaining, because if it's raining, then everyone's going to want to hang out and play cards together. And
right.
Yep.
it's gone from what I remember the days when we used to screw the side of a camper back on to the rest of the camper because on the trip up it got a little loose.
Oh
so
my goodness, funny.
that doesn't happen today.
Yeah. We went to the RV show or whatever it is, and I forget the name, but it's in the winter, fall or winter, just to go walk around because Jason wanted me to get an idea of what things
might like.
cost and what layouts we might like. Again, we're not getting one. But but just to see, and oh my gosh, the ones that are like the toy haulers with the whole thing, and they're ginormous. I'm like, my gosh, it's crazy.
We looked at one, Bob, just online a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This thing had like 3 bedrooms and 15 slides.
Oh my
gosh. Like the kitchen in it was nicer than the kitchen in my house. The fridge was, and I'm just laughing the entire time. It cost like $120,000, which also is more than our house. And I'm like, oh, this really is just a house. Like it's not anything. It had a living room, it had a dining room, it had a movie room. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh, a movie room.
And so I sent it to my husband. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I think it's funny. I think it's funny that this is a camper.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way. But there are people that, travel south for the winter or spend 6 months out of the year.
Which makes more sense.
Then I'm going to want that.
And you'll definitely need more space maybe from your spouse at that point.
They'll each have your own wing.
There you go.
2 bathrooms. Right? I'm like, it was crazy. Do you see campers like that up in the low belts?
Oh yeah.
No way.
You will be surprised what you see up there.
Oh,
you just never know.
Yeah.
Go around the next turn, you're going to find one of those.
Oh
You just never know.
Are you a camper yourself?
Yeah, I like to camp. I'm not as much as I used to be, but I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But you live where people camp. That's what's so crazy.
Well, And then the other thing, I see it every day. So it kind of like, maybe I
loses its luster a little bit.
I'll go get a hotel room.
That's more exciting for
Yeah.
It's something different than your day to day.
Yeah.
When it comes to expansion plans, like you said that really you're going to have space in the mountains for people to camp, except like 4th of July was the one time a year. Is there ideas of expanding the opportunity for more camping in the area or not? Because it sounded like you didn't really need it, but.
Yeah, nothing. The only thing that we're looking at right now is we are improving some of our campgrounds and making them better for backing in or parking.
Okay.
Just due to the fact that some of the campgrounds were built, back in the 60s. We're, going right back to it here. The campering at that days were a lot different than they are now. They were smaller campers, and now 30-foot camper is nothing. You know, and then you add that much more onto the truck. So we need bigger spaces. So we're developing the Logging Creek campground in Logging Creek is going to get a facelift with better camping there. Crystal Lake this last summer got a new facelift with campsites there, and then up the South Fork of the Judith, which is Hay Canyon Campground, got a facelift this summer. So we're working on fixing up some of our outdated campgrounds so they're fitting the more larger campers that are out there now.
It is crazy trying to find a camper like that's 20 foot long or 23 or 24 foot long.
Yeah.
Is nearly impossible anymore. And, years ago that was a big camper.
That was big. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think ours, because we have a space in the driveway, again, in our fake journey to get a camper. But it was like, okay, we can't go past any more than, I think it was 24 or something like that to make it fit in there. And so, and just price wise too, and just the space, like trying to find one that it's a challenge to find a smaller one that works. Yeah.
100%. And it's just my husband and I, just like it's you and Jason. So finding a camper that isn't for 800 people.
Right.
We don't need this much space.
Right.
But we don't like that many people to entertain with.
Right. Yep. We just need somewhere for the dogs, and that's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's always interesting. And, things you don't think about because a lot of those camp spots are smaller because that's what campers used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, then you even think about just the roads to get back to some of these places are like trying to drive a huge thing on it. Yeah.
We have one friend that always got fancier before the rest of us. And so we went camping. God, I want to say it was up Yogo. And the spot we had always gone to, back in the early days where we could all go, was just a little bit off the road and a little bit more rustic. It's not a clean, smooth road or path into that spot. And our fancy friend showed up with their new camper, and it was fancy.
Yeah.
Tore the jack off the back trying to get in.
Oh, no.
We never went back to that spot again.
Yeah.
Well, we were outgrowing it, not as a group, but as
the size of the
stuff.
camper.
We're like, if he's pulling off his leveling jacks off the
Yeah.
back, we got to find a new spot. And so
Yeah.
now everyone's got these big, huge campers, which then limits where we can actually go.
Yeah.
Because you got to think of how you're going to get in there and how you have to level up. And back in the days, it was just simpler
Yeah.
with a pickup camper.
Yeah. So does each campground have its own kind of regulation in terms of what you can and can't do there, fires, things like that?
Yeah, when it comes to fires, usually that depends on fire season.
Sure.
And if we have a dry season, then, we can go into fire restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
And then that'll limit on the fire end of things. On the campgrounds themselves, the fee ones, all dogs need to be on leashes or inside the vehicle.
Broken that rule.
You lawbreaker.
I know.
Bob's going to get you arrested.
We'll be watching you.
Can't prove it just because I said it. I'm just kidding. There's pictures.
So dogs on leashes.
Okay.
Yeah, dogs on leashes, no horses in the campgrounds.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was a 16-day camping limit. That's basically, what we have for nothing big, that we see a lot of time that occurs.
Yeah.
But
any firearms rules of any kind that apply there?
Don't shoot.
Well, yeah, don't shoot each other.
Yeah, the Dry Fork of Bell Creek,
Mm-hmm.
which we talked about earlier, has a
big
lot of
spot.
shooting that occurs up in there. So you can't shoot within 100 yards of a campsite up in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's any campsite.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing we do ask is if you're going to shoot guns on the force, pick a spot that's not by campers.
Would be
Yes,
helpful.
please. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because for a number of reasons, you don't know what could happen. There could be a ricochet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise that occurs in shooting guns.
Mm-hmm.
So, we strongly suggest that you don't, shoot at the campsites.
Yeah.
But, we always kind of find that there's shells there, empty shells, that we know people are doing it.
Yeah.
But we just, catching them is another thing.
Yeah.
No fireworks.
Yep, that's
a hard
That's a
and
big
fast rule.
Yeah.
In the forest.
that's
Yeah.
correct, and that's any time of the year.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
Don't ever.
That seems smart. Mm-hmm.
And let's make sure that everyone knows fireworks also means no tannerite explosions, right?
That is correct.
Which is not a firework,
No.
but
It's the explosion.
it acts a lot like it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
That's a good clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for people to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've been around the block.
have you shot fireworks? Are you going to
No.
incriminate yourself?
No, we're actually probably the sticklers
Yeah,
on that just
that's
because during July the fire
Oh,
danger is always
it's
so
awful.
high
Yeah.
that we're like, we've never been fireworks fans to start with.
Yeah.
And so then we're the police and we go to other people and like, you're shooting off fireworks. And then, it's like a West Side Story rumble and we start singing and snapping our fingers.
Please take
and
video of this next time. Yeah.
you got it. We're there.
Okay, so animals, and this is maybe a question. A question for anybody maybe who hasn't been camping up there, but particularly people who are maybe not familiar with, north central Montana. What kind of wildlife can people expect, and what's kind of your guidelines for dealing with wildlife that comes into campsites?
Well, when it comes to wildlife, up there you could expect anything. All the way from the
Sasquatch?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
You never know.
Never
Yeah.
know. You never know.
Bob's seen him.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
His retirement plan.
One of the main one that comes through is a black bear. Usually they like to come through, especially in the well, any of the campsites, just because there's always food, the smell of food.
Yep.
So, we always recommend, and we do have food storage order that is in place that any time that you're not around your campsite, it needs to be in a bear-proof cooler or it needs to be inside a hard-sided vehicle when you're not around.
What makes a cooler bear-proof?
So,
It seems like there's many that the bear could get in.
well, that's correct. So basically, the companies that build the bear-proof coolers, they take them down to West Yellowstone where they have the Grizzly Discovery Center, and they are actually tested there.
Oh, they let the bears play with them?
Yep. They put something inside the cooler, and then the bear tries to get in. And that's how they find out if the cooler is bear-proof or not.
That's kind of fun for those bears.
Yeah, or frustrating.
Well, yeah.
I would say if you need your thumbs to open the cooler, bear-proof. Because bears don't have thumbs, and so they wouldn't be able to get into the cooler.
Okay.
Bob's like, no, not at all.
He's like, that's not what I'm going to recommend for people. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. If you ever seen a bear, that comes in, he is pretty.
He's going to be determined.
He's going to be determined. He's going to get in there. So
it's got to be sturdy.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is so anytime you're away from your campsite, and also when you're sleeping at night. Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
That's a real good plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are there grizzlies in the Little Belts or the Highwoods?
That we know of.
Okay, so
No comment.
There's definitely been sightings in FWP, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, are aware that there is bears in the Little Belts and some of the other island mountain ranges. We don't know if they're really established there, but they are in there and
cruising through.
Yeah, they could be cruising through. They could be there, and we just don't know it too.
Yeah.
So.
The animal that makes me the most nervous, this applies to whatever I'm doing out in the wilderness, is a mountain lion. Because I feel like bears in general, you correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, are not coming into the camp with the intent to stalk you and harm you. However, mountain lion's a cat. Cats like to stalk things. Cats play games. This is just my perception of a mountain lion and why that's the last animal I would ever want to encounter. Do you have any advice for mountain lions?
Are there mountain lions in the Little Belts or the
yes.
Highwoods?
Yes.
Will they stalk Shannon and hunt her down and play with her before they eat her?
See, it's possible. Yep.
I mean, that's a tough question.
I don't have a target on my back. However, they're still going to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing that we hear about, from a day-to-day basis. But, we have heard that they will stalk. And, I've seen some videos out there that some of my friends have taken out when they were bow hunting. And, the cats were sneaking right up on them. But
this is where I'm like, I'm sure I've never seen a cat, but I'm sure a cat's seen me when I've been hiking somewhere.
Yeah, it'd be interesting at times
right?
to know how many animals you've gone by in a day's time when you're gone walking in the woods or that you just don't know are there.
That's why Bigfoot's never been found. I mean, they just blend in and you're not necessarily paying attention enough to know.
Yeah. My husband would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do see a mountain lion in your campsite or hiking in the area, do you have any advice because I feel like it's kind of animal dependent sometime on how you respond to them.
Yeah, for a mountain lion, the best bet I would say would just make sure you're big and you make some noises.
Yeah.
And, I'd probably even pick up a rock and throw it at them, I guess.
Yeah.
But, every scenario is going to be a little bit different, too.
Yeah. So mostly just be aware that they're out there.
Make noise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Noise is there's safety in noise. No matter what animal it is. Safety and noise.
Yeah. That's
true.
Usually
they're going to shy away from you no matter what animal it is.
There are moose in both the Little Belts and the Highwoods, right? Or just the Little Belts?
Nope, they're in the Highwoods too.
Okay. moose are big animals.
They are. They
And
can be angry animals. Mhm.
I think they are more often likely to attack you than any other animal. Is that true? Because
Well-
they're big. And I think once you see them, you're just startled to start with, because you're like, oh, and they're startled. They're like, why are you in my space?
Yeah.
I was doing such a good job of hiding, and now all of a sudden you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, moose are one of them things that, in the spring when the baby's around, and this is
Yeah.
any animal, and when the baby's around, that's when you really need to watch. But I'm not no wildlife expert either. But the time, the
Yeah.
years that I've been out there, that you just make sure they're aware that you're there, and usually they either go on their way or just back off a little bit.
Yeah.
And let them do their thing. Don't do like we see on TV all the time, and like
Go
not
pet 'em.
Yellowstone, and
You're
think you
right.
need to go get a closer picture
Right.
or anything like that. Just back off and let them do their thing, and
Very good
everything
advice.
should be good.
What is the coolest wildlife experience you've had in your 30 plus years in the mountains?
Squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess I could say there's the time that I work for the Forest Service, and then there's my off time. My off times, I've had quite a few experiences, and we used to chase mountain lions quite a bit with dogs. So
Yep.
I've had a lot of experience with mountain lions up close and personal,
Really?
and they were
Wow.
they're always neat to see. I enjoy seeing them.
Yeah.
But probably working for the Forest Service, there's been a couple times where I've come upon black bears and got maybe a little closer than I needed to be, but I didn't know they were there at the time.
Yeah.
And then they start chomping their teeth, and
Oh.
you can hear their teeth chomping. And then that kind of makes you kind of like, okay, we're a little bit close.
Stop salivating.
Bob, I'm going to tell you, the instant I hear that sound, I know I'm in a ball. I'm like, I don't know
Have
what's
you
happening.
heard that sound a bunch?
No,
Okay, good.
that's way too close.
Yeah.
And my hearing is awful, so it's going
It
to
would have to be real
awful
close,
for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could tell you a story of one time we were camping, actually, and we were over by Jumping Creek, and we were out, and myself and my son were going up this trail, and we get up there, and I could hear this noise, but of course I can't hear as good as I used to. And we're going along, and I hear the chomping. Well, I look up in the tree, and the bear's up the tree.
Oh.
Well, when I look up the tree and I look behind me, my kid's already gone. He is just lickety split. He is just
He's outta
down.
there, yeah.
He says this is too close.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and you also don't necessarily expect the bear to be up in the tree just when you're walking by. I mean, I'm looking for a mountain lion in the tree, but not a bear necessarily.
No, yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. I didn't realize he was even up there.
Just hanging out in the tree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wondering
Watching,
what's going on.
chomping. Yeah. I want to ask you about fire season. We talked a little bit about it, but that's something, obviously, our snow today, we're getting a lot of good wet snow, so hopefully this will help. But we do have a fire season, a pretty regular fire season in Montana. What is that like? What is your involvement when it comes to fire season in your role, and how does that affect kind of recreation up there?
Well, it all depends on where the fire is occurring at
Yeah.
the time, of course. So if there's any, trails involved that are within the fire area, then, we may have to close those trails down
Yeah.
and make sure that there's no public in there. Or, if it gets to the point where it's really starting to grow, we might have to go look to see if there's any campers in a drainage, and we might have to, just give them a heads up that,
Yeah.
you need to get out.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what my role is now. When I was younger, of course, I took and actually fought fire.
Oh, wow.
And, was on the lines and stuff. But now that I got older, and I'm just not into that smoke like I used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I'm just not physical like I used to be
Yeah.
either. So,
I don't blame you. Yeah.
yeah, it all depends on the scenario, what's going on, where the fire's at. And then we kind of go from there.
Would it be accurate to say that some fires start where like nobody would even know that the fire is happening sometimes in the forest?
Yeah, there's locations out there that Or, in the nooks and crannies where sometimes we don't know that they're there. But one thing that has occurred is the technology has come now where there's actually lightning maps that they call them, and they know exactly where the lightning bolts hit the ground.
That's great.
And have, the lat long for them.
Yeah.
And can really watch now a lot more in the places
That's fantastic.
that before we never had that technology and those maps, so you just never know. But now the maps really help them out a lot. And then, of course, we still have what we call Porphyry Peak, which is a fire lookout on the top of Kings Hill, on top of Showdown. That is, there's somebody in there in the summertime that actually, looks for fires, just like the old days.
Yeah.
And, they do there. And then there's also, helicopters and airplanes that do patrols too.
Yeah. The fire towers, is that the ones where people can go and stay in, like reserve and stay in? Is that run by you all?
Yeah. So we have what we call Monument Lookout. And it used to be a tower that was up off the ground. But for safety reasons, they took it and put it on the ground now.
Okay.
But it's the actual building that was up on top of the tower.
Oh.
And you can actually stay in that. That is a rental cabin that we have, and that's starts on June 15th and runs to, I think, the end of hunting season, I believe.
Okay.
And that's when the time period you can rent it.
Are there any that are still within the areas that you work in? Are there any that are still
in
up,
the sky?
In the sky that you can rent?
No.
Okay.
None that you can rent.
Okay.
The only one that we have that is up in the sky would be that Porphyry, but it's not a rental.
Utilized.
That's correct.
When people rent cabins from the Forest Service, do they, do you go shopping for them and make their beds and get their nice linens out? And
Maid service.
No, that's one thing we do not do. I'm kind of glad of that. No, when they rent the cabin, it's by the night, and we tell them, or when they sign the agreement and pay for it, they need to leave it better than when they found it.
So they remodel it before they leave.
Yeah, so they do all the cleaning, and and that includes the toilet. And they bring pretty much, all their food. We have utensils and pots and pans up there that they have, and of course the beds, the monkey beds.
Yeah.
Their linen, they need to bring all their linen, and their water, and anything else that they think they may need to rent the cabin.
Are they dry cabins? You said the toilet. Is it a real flushing toilet, or is it a vault toilet?
No, it's a vault toilet. We call it a sweet smelling toilet, an SST. So that's what I'm referring to is toilet.
So no running water.
Right.
Yeah, no running water.
How do people go about renting those?
There is a website that's recreation.gov, and if you go onto that website, you can pick whatever camp or cabin that you would like, and it's all over the nation. I think actually when it comes up, it shows the United States, and you can click on kind of where you're going to go, and then it'll show you that what's in that area.
Okay.
And then you just click on the one that you're interested in, and it tells you everything about it.
Cool. Good deal. I like that opportunity. Is it kind of like an Airbnb situation? Like you find there's a key under the door kind of thing, or what? How do you?
No, everything is combination.
Okay.
Once you rent it, then they'll send out in an email.
Okay.
The combination to the cabin.
Nice.
One of the things I tell people about the Little Belt Mountains, which may be a lie, and that's why you're on the podcast, is to clarify that.
Oh, no.
This happens all the time.
It does. This
I
is
make
normal.
things up, but the Little Belts themselves I say it's the mountain range that's left in the state of Montana that has the most access to it and the most available recreation to it. Like we've got the Bob Marshall Wilderness to the west of us, and it's absolutely wonderful, but it's all foot or horse traffic in there. You can still snowmobile or ride dirt bikes or four-wheelers or Jeeps or walk within the Little Belts, which is really unusual for the mountain ranges in Montana. Am I speaking some truth when I say that kind of stuff, or is it a complete lie?
No, you're correct. When we did the travel plan in 2007, the Rocky Mountain Front gave up some of their motorized use up there. And then we were kind of, well, we're not going to take it all away. So the Little Belts was kind of like, well, that's where we're going to put our motorized use. So, but there's still, if you go to other national forests, there's still quite a bit of area that you can recreate in that is motorized. But the Little Belts is definitely heavily more motorized than most.
But there are walking trails and hiking trails too.
Yep, that's correct.
Good job. You were right.
See, I know stuff.
What?
I just never know
yeah.
if it's true stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I've
you just gotta
convinced
get it
myself
clarified.
this is real.
Yeah.
It's not always real.
Well, it was this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yay!
What should people know about fishing in your
Ooh.
areas?
Well,
Folks, that face really was. I don't want to talk about this question.
yeah, I can't tell my secret spots, of
Yeah.
course.
Well,
but
we don't want to
No,
know
not
where
yet,
to
yeah.
fish.
I'll tell you this
Yeah.
much. There's fish out there.
Okay. Okay.
There's fish out there.
What kind of fish are we talking?
Well, it all depends on kind of where
Marlin.
you...
Blue
Yes.
marlin.
It got real long lost from his original home, and yeah.
Well, there's the West Throat cutthroat. On the West Throat cutthroat, though, if you catch one, you got to release it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't get to keep those.
No,
Okay.
you don't get to keep those. But there's a brook trout, a little brook trout, what they call brookies. Those are really popular.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's the rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some pretty nice browns out there, too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I'm not going to tell you where they're all at.
Yeah.
So let's get general then. There's a lot of water in the Little Belts. I'm not going to try and name all of the names of the waters, but there's some where it's like thin water, like
Thin water.
it's going to be an inch.
Shallow?
There we go. See, look at you with all your big words.
Well, yes, thank you.
And then we've got thick water.
Or
Deep.
deep. Yeah.
Yep. So obviously fishing's going to be better in the deep water than the shallow water, but there's a lot of water just flowing around in the Little Belts. Can people fish where they see water? Like, is all the water open to fish in?
Well, I would say on that, yes, it is open. But one thing that, that I'm not, the authority on too is there's the high water mark when you go fishing.
Yeah.
So when you get to private land, you need to make sure that you're within the high water mark and that you're not up onto the private land. So, be really careful with that where you're fishing. I mean, it's just like hunting. You gotta know where you're hunting,
Right.
or if you're on private land or state land or public land
Yeah.
of any type. So just kind of be aware where you're fishing, and it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask locals if there's even fish in there.
But you just said there's fish in there.
Well, there is, but there are
In
some spots that
yeah.
are like, why is he fishing there?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
That doesn't even look
Clearly
like that's water
not from
deep
around
enough
here.
to clean his toes.
Such thin water there. Yeah.
There's this hole that we take the kids to when we're up camping, just to swim and cool off, and the water there is so freaking cold.
Really?
Like, when it is miserably hot out, everybody's down there, and there's these deep pockets. Like, you could walk along and it's barely ankle deep, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're in over your head.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is very cold. And the current
Yeah.
is taking me away. And you're like, this is not good. So you do have to be smart in those instances.
Yeah.
But there's just some amazing spots. The roads take you there. Sometimes they're not really
Yeah.
well constructed roads, but they'll get you there.
So there are also, I'm trying to figure out how to say this.
Just fumble
There
through
are
it.
there are residents who live up on some of the deep back roads in the
Oh.
mountains up there
Okay.
that perhaps are not somewhere you want to just randomly find yourself driving by. maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I'm not. This is my experience, but I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Is there anywhere just for people who are not from the area or this is their first time driving around the Little Belts or Highwoods, any areas that people should or shouldn't drive around?
Venture into?
Like signs of like, oh, I shouldn't get myself back on property. Okay.
Not really. I mean, when you do go out, say like the Dry Fork of Bell Creek there, when you venture up that, there is private land that is up through the bottom up there.
Okay.
So, and a lot of the dispersed campsites or undeveloped campsites are on private land, even though people do not realize they're on private land.
Okay.
So, definitely make sure that, you're on public land and not on private.
How do I make sure without like an app like Onyx or something like that?
Well, yeah, maps are your first thing.
Yeah.
Of course, we have that Friends of Little Belts map.
Okay.
That is a good thing to look at. But, I guess it doesn't really, what do you want to say, zoom in. So, I mean, there's apps, like you said, that are out there that you can zoom in. Montana Cadastral, Onyx, and different things like that you can put on and, kind of get the exact location where you're at the time.
Yeah.
And that'll show you usually where the private land is and where the public land is.
So what you're saying here is there may be a private landowner that's developed their own campsite on their land, but it looks like a Forest Service dispersed campsite and people will end up there?
Well, usually the private landowner didn't develop it.
Oh.
The public that didn't know any better developed it. And it's still there. And luckily, a lot of those spots up the Dry Fork, the private landowner, just kind of lets go. But, he definitely doesn't want people staying on his land.
Well, there's a liability for them if something were to happen.
That's correct.
Okay. So get a map or get an app or something like that and just kind of do your homework before you lose cell service or set up for the night.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And up the Dry Fork there, we have signs along the main road there.
Okay.
It is a county road, Cascade County Road, and it says entering National Forest and then leaving National Forest.
Okay.
So that's not like that everywhere, but up the Dry Fork we do have signs like that do say that.
Okay.
To try to help, but it doesn't seem to help much.
Yeah.
Robert took me on a drive one time from here to White Sulphur Springs through Milligan. And that was an experience because none of some of these roads look like actual county roads. He's like, oh no, this is a county road. And then of course we'd cross a cattle garden and be like, this is private land. I'm like, oh, that wasn't like, oh, this
Are we
is
going onto or coming out of
like
private
this
land?
Is interesting because I would have never guessed that was like public land that we were just on.
Yeah.
So it is very helpful to have those signs.
Yep.
Just because you're like,
clarify.
Where are we? What is going on?
Yeah.
And even we've done that when we've left the Little Belts and headed towards like Two Dot and come back around. There's a lot of checkerboarding. You laugh because it's a town too.
Aha.
There's a lot of checkerboarding of like public and private land on some of those routes as well.
Yeah.
So
up in the Little Belts there's there's a mine up there.
a Yogo mine.
Okay. Is
Yogo
that
Sapphire mine.
Oh,
is that the one you're talking about?
I don't know.
There's multiple mines.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of mines
Okay.
up there.
What should people know about the mining areas? Like where should they avoid? Can they go up and check out an old mine site?
Ooh.
So the majority of the mine sites are all on private land.
Okay.
So that's the same thing as what we were talking earlier. You need to get permission.
Yeah.
So you just don't go. You need to get permission and make sure that, a lot of the mining claims that are up there, they're existing are usually out of state owners.
Okay.
So, it's not always easy finding the owners of those private lands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, make sure that if you're going to go check out mines, that you're either in your vehicle just looking at them just don't go out there and start walking because, like I said, majority of them are private land.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah, if you ever want Yogo sapphires, there's only one place in the world where those are mined.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the Little Belt Mountains, just so you know.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, Tiffany made a beautiful cobblestone Yogo sapphire ring
Really?
that I really wanted. And my mother said, no, honey, you're not that precious to me. I'm not spending that kind of money on that for you.
Well, you start throwing Tiffany.
I mean,
into the
those
picture,
weren't
and
the
that's-
specific words,
I
but
didn't
that
think
was
so.
the gist
Yeah.
of the conversation. That she still loved me, though, but whatever.
But no.
No Tiffany ring on my fingers.
Yeah. Darn.
When it comes to exploring, because a lot of people may be new to this outdoor recreation thing and really want to just see everything, and the trail may not take them to where they want to go. Can people just start walking up a mountain to see a tree closer, or to jump in to see more animals?
Off trail.
Or do they need to constantly be on a trail? And I'm talking across the board. Clearly, vehicles don't just go off-road, but people on foot or dirt bikes or four-wheelers or horses.
Yeah, so when you're out there walking, you're going to take a hike or something like that. You can just go anywhere you want as long as it's on public land. Of course, like I said, we don't want to push nobody towards private land.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to wheeled vehicles or motorized vehicles, yeah, there is a map that you need to go by, and you need to stay to the designated routes that they are allowed to go on. And like I said, that Friends of the Little Belts map is out. That is the best one to get a hold of. And that'll tell you if you can take a motorcycle there. It'll tell you if you can take a full-size vehicle or an ATV or whatever else you want to. And it does also show on there non-motorized trails. So, yeah, definitely before you go out, make sure you got a map, know where you're going, what you want to do. And that's your best bet on that. But
yeah, if I'm on my feet, I can pretty much just go explore. Don't get on public lands and don't get lost because you're not coming to look for me.
That's correct. Yeah, the big thing is if you're going to start doing things like that is to make sure before you leave
You're on your own.
that somebody knows where you're going and your location. And
Yeah.
so if it does come to the point where you might not come home, somebody knows where to start.
Yeah.
Looking for
Yeah.
you.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where can I get my hands on one of these Friends of the Little Belt maps?
Okay, there's multiple locations. All the Forest Service offices. There's a supervisor's office here in Great Falls.
Okay.
There's an office in Stanford, Forest Service office there. One in Bell Creek, which is between Monarch and Nyhart. One in White Sulphur and one in Harlowtown. All those offices have the maps.
Okay.
There are locations out there that we have what we call kiosks that are on the ground that are at the beginning of most of the roads. And there's map boxes there. And in the summertime, we try to keep them filled up.
Okay.
So you can get those maps there so you don't have to be, our offices are usually open from 8 to 4:30. So at least with those boxes there, people that are coming out late or in the evening can usually get to one of the maps through there. And then there's local, like clubs and also businesses that do have those.
Bighorn Outdoor Specialist has them.
Okay.
And every now and again, people grace us with the ability to have some of our own maps.
Yeah. I was like, we need those.
Yeah. We run out of them so quickly when we
Yeah.
do get them here at the office at 15 Overlook Drive that, I'd love to say you could find them here, but you can't.
Is that
Well-
one we currently don't have?
Yeah.
Have we not had it the whole time I've worked here?
No, we've had maybe
Like that first summer?
15 or 20
Okay.
in the last year.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Well, I can
that's-
help you out with this.
Ooh,
Look
thank
at
you,
this.
Bob.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
can help you out.
Those would
Usually
be
we're
really
going down to
helpful.
Bighorn Outdoor and begging Chris and Beth to
Spare
"Hey,
us some."
Would you give us some?
That would be really helpful, though,
Yeah.
for us to guide people.
But
yeah.
they go so
I
quickly.
bet. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We can't.
We'll take you up on that, Bob.
Yep, I can help you out on
Yeah,
that.
we we'll go through 15 quickly, like in a day or two,
Yeah.
because so many people go to recreate in the low belts. And we're like,
I want to hoard one for myself.
we have one in every vehicle we own.
Smart.
That's
Mhm.
good.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
And then, I mean, every vehicle, our buggy, our
Yeah. All of them.
yes,
Yeah.
everything.
That's smart. Okay.
Well, it's just so important because
Yeah.
things change, and
Yeah.
even though you may be familiar with something,
From year to year.
you're like, well, I remember this. Is that actually what I remember? And then you can look at the map
Yeah.
and you're like, oh no,
Oh, no.
completely wrong area.
Is that one available online anywhere as well, or is this only like a printed?
Nope.
Map.
It is also. I don't know if you guys have heard at Venza. It's an app that you can get on.
I
and
think
it-
I have heard of
I
this.
think maybe did Willie tell us about that hiking?
I think maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And we there's you can scan a I don't know what you would call one of them, a barcode.
QR
The
code.
QR codes.
QR
yeah,
code,
yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
you can actually get that on your phone.
Okay.
And you can. The nice part about that is you bring it up on your phone,
Yeah.
and it'll take and show you with a blue dot exactly where you're at
Perfect.
all
Yeah.
the
That's
time.
helpful.
That
Yeah.
is
I need
helpful.
that every day of my
Yeah,
life.
just to get around. Yeah. Yep.
Where am
Uh-huh.
I?
Yep.
You went to the printer. Why did I go to the printer?
Good point. Okay, that's good to know. All these resources are good to know.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything that we haven't asked you that we should know or be able to tell people who come to see us about camping or recreating
Recreating.
of any kind in your
Because
jurisdiction?
we honestly are not smart enough to ask
No,
all the questions.
no.
So
Like, have we missed anything?
Well, here's one thing that I remember this back from when I first started. I used to go up to Porphyry, with the fires.
Yeah.
And when you get up on top of Porphyry Peak up there, you can see the southern border of Montana, and you can see the northern
Oh
border
my
of
gosh.
Montana.
Really?
holy moly.
Which I don't think that can happen in too many places in the state.
No.
But yeah, on the south side, you can see the Beartooth Mountains,
Wow.
which is
Huh.
on the the southern border.
Yeah.
Wyoming border.
And
yeah.
then if you look north, you'll see the Sweetgrass Hills,
Oh
which
my
is on the
gosh.
Canadian border.
That is so cool.
Yeah, to me,
That's worth it.
Yeah, but you kind of when you get up there, kind of got to know where to look a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that is kind of unique for the Little Belts,
That's really awesome.
cool.
and I think like I said, that's a mountain range that it is in the middle. Is
Yeah.
if you look on the map, and that's just kind of unique and
Yeah.
pretty sweet to see.
And it's Porphyry. Is that how you're pronouncing
Yep,
it? Porphyry.
Porphyry.
Porphyry
Yep.
Peak.
And that's the top of. This is all the mistake I make, I think, because it's called Kings Hill, but the actual top of Showdown is not Kings Hill. It's Porphyry Peak.
That is correct.
Okay, because Kings Hill is technically on the other side of the highway,
You're-
right?
You're correct.
Okay, because
Yep.
I got this confused when we had people from Showdown on. I think
Oh,
somebody on, and I was getting corrected. Maybe it
Yeah.
was when I went up there. In the summer, are you? I'm questioning this because I know Showdown is on Forest Service property,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still Showdown. So I can just go hike up the ski runs in the summer, no permission needed, right? I can just go, correct?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's for people who maybe don't know where to start or something, that's a pretty open spot. You can go and find and hike.
They definitely would like to know that you're there.
That you're
though.
there.
Yep,
Okay.
that is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so how do I do that?
Usually, when I go up there in the summertime, I just have to go right down to the lodge, and usually there's somebody right there at the
And you
lodge.
just say, hey,
Yep.
I'm heading up.
Katie's there or
Yeah.
somebody
Okay.
that's there.
Okay.
Yep.
It's good to know.
we've done an episode with the illustrious Roland Taylor who talked about kayaking the Belt Creek. So we've got a lot of water in the Little Belts, as we talked about, and the fact that you can fish it. But can you float a lot of the water?
So, there's, of course, certain times of years when the water's higher, you can float the sluice boxes. But then, you just got to watch the water levels on
Yeah.
that. So, and the sluice boxes is not an easy task.
No.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I
what
don't,
we learned.
I don't recommend, you kind of got to know your stuff when you're going to go through there.
Exactly what Roland
And,
said.
yeah. So I don't recommend it that, unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but yeah. And that's all state too. That's a state
park. Yep.
So, we don't really have anything to do with that, but that is a state park.
Are there other areas that you're like, oh no, Jefferson Creek's a nice little float if you get enough water and you're not hitting your butt on rocks all the time?
No, the only place that I know, some people float from Monarch down to like Logan Creek or all the way down through the sluice bosses.
Oh.
So otherwise, yeah. And then, of course, we have the Smith River.
Oh, that's right.
That is part of ours too.
Permit.
That requires a
permit on that. Yep. So.
And you've already passed your time. You can't do it this summer.
That's correct. So.
We can't get your permit. If you get a permit, you can float it.
Right.
We won't deny you your permit.
Right.
We don't
but the
have
opportunity has passed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the only two places that are really floatable.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never even thought about floating in there. It's good to
Well,
know.
the only reason I bring that up is because my loving spouse, we took the kids, and he's like, there's a spot here along the road you can put in and float. And I'm like, there's no, like, we were headed towards an Ulan Creek, and I'm like, there's no place. There's just no place alongside the road. And I've been driving that road for a number of years where you're just going to be able to put in and float.
Yeah.
And he picked a spot, and it was atrocious and ridiculous and weird. And I'm like, oh. We still stayed there for 2 hours, but
that's another story.
it was not good. And so I'm like, well, maybe there's a different spot. So that's why I asked Bob.
Yeah.
He says no.
Yeah. No, you can
go to the lakes.
Tell that to yours. Yeah. Memorial Falls, is that under your responsibility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a real popular one. That's one of my favorites. It's a favorite to take people when they visit too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that what's nice about that is it's a short little hike, not very far, and it's beautiful and refreshing, and it's a nice spot.
Yeah.
Are there any other hidden falls that we don't know about that you've found?
Yeah, there's a few out there, but I don't even know if I could find them again.
Yeah, like I don't know where I was.
Dang it, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Up past, I ask this some based out of personal experience. So the main trail goes to the first and second falls of Memorial Falls. There's kind of two, but you can keep making your way back, following the little creek all the way back for a long time, right? That's still on public land there?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay.
Nope, that was all private.
It's like we didn't go that far back, so it's
up past the second falls, we don't maintain that at all.
Yeah.
And people just are doing that on their own,
Okay.
and they're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah.
The only thing that I do say about up there is if you've been up there, you see that there's signs that says "Do not carve up trees."
Please don't carve up the trees.
Yeah, we ask that people do not carve up the trees because sooner or later it's going to kill the tree, and then we're just going to have a bunch of dead trees.
Why are people carving the trees? Like
especially
Jackie loves
there.
Bob, or
Well, it's the old heart with
Yeah.
M plus M or M plus J.
I don't understand that. That seems stupid.
Since we put the signs up there, it's slowed down a lot.
Oh,
but,
that's good. At least
prior
people
to
know how
that,
to read.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
prior to that, they were getting carved up pretty frequently.
And if your trail goes too far back and you run into Jimmy's cabin, you've gone too far.
Too far. Yeah.
Yeah, turn around and come back.
And that's an area you can hike in the winter too, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that there's probably been people that go up there ice climbing a little bit.
I've been up there when it was actually really neat because there was snow and kind of the outside was frozen still, but the water was coming underneath and it was really pretty. I don't remember having to. I think people had walked up the path before us in the snow, so it wasn't a fresh foot of snow on there because there are rocks and slippery portions of that trail to just be aware of, but. It's beautiful.
Anytime you go into the wilderness, you're taking your life into your own hands.
This is true.
Be smart, people.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think you were nervous to come on board, and look at this. Yeah. We've already done an hour plus, and it was so easy. And you're thinking,
I can't wait to get out of here.
These girls aren't very smart at all, and I've had to dumb down everything I was going to say.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I came prepared
You
because I just
did.
did not know.
Is there anything in your notes there that you wanted to say that we didn't talk about?
Well, no,
Okay.
I think
You brought in numbers of things, didn't you? How many? Do you want me to ask you some random, like how many acres something is?
Oh no, 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 we're fine.
Okay.
how many?
We're good.
Okay, perfect.
We're
Well,
good.
thank you so much for taking time out of
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
your day in town of getting all your chores done to hang out in our podcast studio.
Yeah.
It's been a blast.
Well, yeah, it has been good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was
Pleasantly surprised?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I
right.
can't wait till we get some more guests to experience the Little Belt Mountains and the
Yes.
Highwoods. Little Belts are just an amazing asset, and
Yeah.
so many opportunities to recreate all year long. Obviously not for floating, but anyway,
We clarified that.
yeah,
It's fine.
now we know.
Yeah.
So thank you. And folks, thanks for listening. If you haven't already, rate, review, and subscribe. Everybody loves it when you do that. We're no
Everybody
different.
meaning us. Yeah.
Every podcast developer likes that. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy face here in Great Falls, we hope you're creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you are. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town.